Was?
Was?
Das.
Was is das? Ignorant Brits not pronouncing things properly. That's what das is.
Nein.
Do you know what's really annoying about this?
You.
Whenever
in the rain.
Good afternoon, everyone. Stephen was going to be in this little introduction bit, but he kind of just said to me, oh, you can do it, can't you? Oh, so there we go. There's his commitment for you right there. We've driven to a town quite a bit further south from where we last saw you, and we are in a town called Wernigerode. And it is meant to be a very pretty town. It's got a castle, and it's still in the region we were in before, which is known as the Saxony-Anhalt region, I think. And it's all very central Germany. Now, more specifically, Wernigerode is in a region known as the Harz region. It's kind of like a national park. And it's a very mountainous region, but not quite mountains, just kind of very, very tall hills, I think. I think the highest point, I can't remember the name of it, is about 1,100 meters. So we're not talking like staggering here. We're kind of talking like UK level high mountains, I guess. And we've just found somewhere to park, so we're in a little car park that's kind of just beneath the castle, just above the town, so really conveniently within walking distance to both. It is a bit of a slope, there's no services here or anything like that, but it is free, so that's quite nice, because we have paid for a fair few spots as we've gone around, but it's nice to mix it up with some free spots as well, otherwise it would just be a very, very expensive trip. So yeah, we'll put up with the slopiness. Stephen did drive up onto some bricks to try and balance us out, but it looks really awkward and dodgy. So I don't know if we're going to keep it like that or not, because we're both kind of worrying about it, but it seems fine. It has kind of righted us somewhat. But before we go out exploring, we're going to have a little bit of lunch, because we've been shopping. I think we said in the last video, I can't remember now, how nice it is to try sort of some of the different foods that you see more often. And then they have all these kind of like pickly potato salad type things. So we got ourselves another kind of gherkin potato salad. I think this is more like sauerkraut kind of stuff, but there's other bits mixed in. This is like a salmon kind of dip of sorts. And then I know this is just kale, I think, in a jar, but I feel like you don't see that back home. So I'm quite interested to use that for something, or just eat it. So there we are, that's today's lunch. A bit of a variety of everything chucked on a plate. I know you can find lots of these foods back in the UK, and that really is just kale in a jar, but somehow that excites me, even if I can find that back home. It's just quite nice to see in a big jar like that. And the potato salad certainly feels like something we've not seen before with all the pickles in. Anyway, I think we said all this before, let's tuck in. Right, scrap all of that for a second. We are going to explore the town, but we are now we've just turned around to go and move the van, because we've noticed a space further down that's a little bit flatter and just seems a little bit more suitable than where we are. So we're going to do that before we do anything else. There she is, there's our Days.
Which talking about me then?
There's my Days, my little Daisy. What am I, your daffodil? Daniel Daffodil.
You're some old truck.
What, me?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, that looks like a better spot to me.
It does. So we've moved to this little car park, and a lot of people might be like, well, hang on a minute, why have you moved from somewhere that looks really isolated and peaceful and all surrounded by nature? But you know what, sometimes practical is better than pretty, you know, because it was slopey and it was annoying, and we were worried about being on the bricks. We're actually now worried that the tyre's going down, but we'll worry about that later when we come back. Yeah, it's not ideal being in a car park, but it feels much better and much more practical to stay in.
I think what you also have to remember is that Daisy is a bit old and scuffed.
Yeah.
And when she's surrounded by nice new looking cars, what are you going to steal?
Well, that's true.
So.
You've just jinxed it, hopefully not. Yeah, so practical over pretty sometimes, because at the end of the day, when you've got all your blinds up and you're sat in bed or whatever you're doing, what if you could be anywhere, right? That's what we always say about staying in places like lay-bys. Once everything's closed up, what difference does it make? Yeah. It's only nice when it's really lovely weather and you can be kind of sort of sitting outside or something. Otherwise, it's not really, it doesn't make much difference, does it?
Even just like being on the field the other day in the farmer's meadow, you know, that was lovely, but I've been bitten to Betsy.
Exactly. Practical, not pretty. Not always, but you know, a lot of the time.
Anyway, we're going to walk into town and see if there's anything worth looking at. If not, we're going to turn around and come back and go.
What's it called, Stephen, the town?
A tune.
A tune? Oh, what's its name?
I don't know.
Can't you pronounce it?
I can't. Wilfenbraun, something like that.
Wilfen what?
I don't know.
Where did you get that from?
This stuff.
We're going into Wernigerode. I'm probably saying it wrong as well, to be fair. And it's getting late in the day now. We're really tired, so this first little look around will be a little bit brief, but hopefully it'll give you some idea, and then we'll be staying here and looking around tomorrow, possibly the castle. Anyway, enough of us. Let's have a look at the town. So we found a nice little pub, of course we have. It's an Irish pub. 2 drinks, cheers to that. What do you think of... Oh my god, I've forgotten how to say it now. Right, now I've reminded myself. Take 2, what do you think of Wernigerode, Stephen?
Love it.
Absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? No, not the beer, the town.
Yeah, both.
So it's just a brief look around, then we're going to head back to the van. We've come in for a drink. It's kind of just started to rain. It's really clouded over and it is supposed to rain all day tomorrow, but this place is like you don't know where to put your eyes. It is absolutely everywhere, these beautiful timber buildings. And not just in one street like you usually see. They're in every street, every building. It is just literally a feast for the eyes, and it's like, what do you do, what do you do? It's like, I've never seen anything like it. Neither of us have we? And it feels like there is no comparison in the UK. So I don't know if this is normal for Germany or if this is exceptionally pretty or what, but wow, absolutely incredible. So cheers to that, we'll have a drink, and we will probably see you tomorrow because we're going to go and explore some other little bits and pieces, more specifically here, if it's not raining too hard.
Alright.
So let's have a drink and we'll see you later. Do you know what's really annoying about this? Whenever
filming in the rain.
Filming in the rain is annoying, yeah, I'm very sorry, I'll stop briefly, but when you try and film in the rain and say, oh, look how bad it is, we're getting soaked, and then you look at the camera and it looks like nothing's there, we're getting absolutely drenched.
Because we never put our coats on.
No, we didn't.
Stupid men.
It's not that, it was warm, it didn't seem like it was going to be that bad, and the town isn't that far away, but it was just kind of really heavy while we're walking back. Anyway, we're going to get back to the van, our little park up, and we will show you more of this beautiful city. I don't know where Stephen's just gone, and maybe I'm going the wrong way. Tomorrow, so we'll see you tomorrow. Well, that's some view, isn't it? We are in a car park, and it is absolutely, well, it's not chucking it down, but it has been chucking it down, and it's going to rain all day, which we knew, to be fair, and we have been really lucky, so we're not too worried. However, the plan today is to go and explore the castle up on the hill, which, if we can go inside, which I think we can, should give us something to do away from the rain. As you can see, Stephen's view is just as wonderful his side. More rain, more cars. This morning has been a real slow one getting started. In fact, it's almost the afternoon now, I think. We're on a bit of a go slow. I appear to be developing some kind of pain under my eye. I don't know what it is. We think it might be a sty starting, so hopefully whatever it is, it goes as soon as possible, because it's really aching underneath. It feels swollen. It doesn't know if it looks it at the moment. Look at the state of that, crying out loud. Anyway, so today we are going to go up to Wernigerode Castle, which is just up the hill from us here. It's a short walk, I think. It looks very impressive. I don't think it's that expensive to get in, maybe €8 or €9 each, which isn't too bad compared to some of these places, and I think it's got about 50 rooms you can go and look in. Whether we have to go on a guided tour or whether we can look around by ourselves, which we prefer, I don't know. We'll soon find out. But the views of the town are meant to be really great from above. I'm not sure how good that's going to be today in this weather, but we will make our way up and, yeah, have a lovely time in a big old German castle and learn something about its history, hopefully. Oh, and just very quickly, that pub we were in last night, right in the centre of this beautiful town, the drinks were about, what, £4.50 each, I think, Stephen? Maybe about that, which, you know, that's still expensive for beer, but compared to back home, that's not that bad at all, because it was like a pint size or whatever it was. So yeah, back home, especially in a really touristy place like that, you would be paying easily £5.50 upwards. So quite impressed with that so far in Germany. It's not been so bad for the alcohol prices.
Well, this is looking utterly miserable today, isn't it? We've just walked into town, we've come back, it is really wet, but we're going to go and press on and go and explore the little castle on the hill. The castle on the hill? The castle on the hill, and it's not little anyway, so that's all wrong.
Come on then, let's go.
Let's go. We sound so excited, don't we? It is going to be nice, I'm sure, but we're just feeling a bit unenthused today, but it'll be fine, it's going to be amazing, come on.
So walking up a steep hill in the rain with no path. Are you enjoying yourself, Stephen?
I'm thrilled.
Are you having the best time?
No, look at my happy face.
But you can actually get a train to the top, and it's not like a proper train, but it's a train that kind of runs on the road, and it runs every 30 minutes, I think. It's this cute yellow thing that goes up, so possibly we could have done that. But where we're parked, it's not near the start point, so it's probably just as easy for us. By the time we walk down to it, we may as well walk up. I think we might be a little bit under the weather today, literally, because we might have had one too many beers last night, but don't tell anyone. It didn't happen.
Unfortunately, you weren't allowed to film in the castle, and most of the info was in German, but still, there was a lot to see inside this magnificent building, which has been redesigned over the centuries. Originally built in the 1100s as a fortress, it was then used as a stopover for German emperors during hunting trips in the region, so basically an extremely fancy hotel. Despite the weather being more miserable than Stephen, the views over the town and valley were still worth the trek, and at least the castle kept us dry for a bit.
Tonight's van dinner is something a little bit different, and we're going to be using this, which we have zero interest in, but we found a use for it thanks to my mum. So this tin of bachelor's soup, you're probably familiar with it in the UK. Maybe many of you like and enjoy it. It's bachelor's condensed soup, mushroom flavour. It's been around for absolutely donkey's years. I remember it from being when I was a kid. We all remember it, right? And it's like a condensed soup you put in a saucepan, and you usually have to add something like milk or water or whatever just to kind of give it some texture. When we visit my mum, she tends to kind of load us up with things for the van, for the food cupboard, which we're really grateful for. It's really nice for her to do that. She doesn't have to do it at all, and we tell her not to do it, but anyway, that's another story. But she likes, you know, giving us a few bits and pieces, cupboard staples, if you like. And usually it's all really useful stuff, but sometimes it's like, what the hell are we going to do with that, you know? And we're not really interested in bachelor's condensed soup. It's not the sort of thing these days we would usually eat. But she told us a recipe. Now, my mum's a really good cook, so she doesn't need to do this or anything, but sometimes it's just nice to have a really simple thing to chuck together. And she said, chucking this in a saucepan with some like onions and garlic, maybe a bit of paprika, and then some actual mushrooms, and then putting it through some pasta, cooked pasta, and you end up with a really quick and tasty pasta sauce. Now, I'm sure this sounds like whatever to many of you, but to us that was like, oh, that's a bit of a revelation, you know? So we tried it, not thinking it was going to be that good, and it is actually really, really lovely. So finally, these condensed soup tins have an actual purpose. So that's what we're cooking tonight. And whatever's going on with my eye that I think I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm not sure if it made it or not, but yeah, there's something going on with my eye. It's swelling up, and now it really seems to be showing. So God only knows what that is and what it's going to actually turn into. Maybe a sty, hopefully nothing worse. But back to cooking. We had loads of mushrooms. I might even add more than this because they always cook down to, I'm not going to say nothing, but they definitely shrink considerably. So it feels like you always have to get more mushrooms than you think you need. Then we put a few green peppers in. It's not the normal big bell pepper. They're kind of like the long pimento style peppers that you often see. They seem to sell them a lot here in Germany, and they're quite nice because they've got a little bit of a kick to them without being too hot. Please note this is not now a cooking channel, and I think it's probably evident that that should never happen as well. Just to interrupt this riveting cooking segment with a news flash, on the back of the can, Stephen just looked at it, and there's actually a recipe for a pasta dish involving this tin of condensed mushroom soup. So ignore everything we've said. It's not some kind of revelation. Thanks, Mum. We thought you'd been all original there, but maybe you just read it off the back of the tin. I don't know. To be fair, it's completely different to this one, but, you know, it's pasta using the sauce. All right, you get it anyway now, you get it. It's still nice, and the fact of the matter is, it makes a change from using, like, a jar of tomato sauce, all that kind of thing, and doing something different with pasta. So the soup's in. I've stirred some milk through it. It's a little bit watery at the moment, but that will thicken up. And now we'll add a little bit of paprika, which is not coming out of the jar. Hold that thought. We'll add a little bit of paprika. I had to do that 3 times because I couldn't pronounce it then, so I've already pulled some in. I think that's enough. Then I've chucked in a little bit of fresh spinach. And as we all know, spinach is a bit like witchcraft. You spend a lot on a big bag and it all just withers into absolutely nothing within seconds. It never feels worth it, does it? But it gives it a little bit of greenery in this decidedly average looking sauce. And that's pretty much it really. I'll just cook some pasta and stir it through. I guess you can add cheese if you like, but we like to kind of sprinkle ours over the top. It's probably nicer with a bit of cream instead of milk, but we didn't have cream. I don't know why it looks grey like dishwater, but it does taste alright. So we're back from wernigerode Castle, which is just up the road. Didn't quite go to plan in terms of for the video, but what did you think, Stephen?
Yeah, it was alright.
It was alright?
It's nice enough to look around.
And also, how much was a coffee in there? Because we really wanted one.
It's like €8.50 for a large coffee.
Wasn't it six something? But that's still pretty bad.
I'm not paying that for a bleeding. And their large coffees are just like a normal English cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even a big coffee.
So we bypassed that.
Yeah, I turn around and walk straight back out again. No.
Stephen was impressed. So yeah, wernigerode Castle, it was very pretty, it looks beautiful, but it's just such a shame we couldn't actually film inside. But we can tell you that it did look absolutely gorgeous in there, like the rooms were lovely. I know Stephen's like, yeah, whatever, but some of the rooms were really grand, some absolutely beautiful, like wallpaper and ceiling decorations and things like that, all the usual things. To be honest, it was very much like the German National Trust, if you like. And it's quite interesting going around these properties. Well, I know we've only been to one here, but so much of it just follows a similar trajectory, doesn't it? Where it has all these years of history, centuries, with big important people, kings, royalty, emperors, whatever, all kind of coming and going, and all kinds of other sort of things happening, wars. And yet eventually in the last 100 years, like with a lot of National Trust big properties, they're kind of, it's sort of surplus to anyone's requirements like that. I don't know what the term is really. It just falls by the wayside and eventually somehow comes into the hands of not the public, but becomes accessible to the public. Yeah, so just interesting how so much of that, it just represents history probably across Europe, if not the world, doesn't it? That there were once people, rulers were reliant on these buildings to dwell in and hold their banquets and all the rest of it. And now it's like maybe nobody can sustain them, or maybe it's just seen as something
too expensive.
Or just seen as just, I'm not going to say not appropriate, but it just doesn't fit in today's world perhaps. So they've just become kind of like museums of the past. But yeah, very important people did stay there over time as well, and it eventually had been transformed all through different styles, Gothic, etc. And in the late 1800s, it was remodeled entirely to kind of look like what you saw today. So that was because there was a rule, I'm not even going to say because I'm just going to explain it really badly, but they had to do that because the person needed it to be changed for something. I can't even explain it.
No.
Oh.
Sacked.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult. It's bad enough when you're trying to do the English ones and you're vaguely familiar with like English kings and queens, but when you come to an entirely different country and you can't pronounce them, or you've got to look up how to pronounce everything, it's quite complicated. Let's just say it's an important building and it's very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much the final product, except some cheese we'll put on the top. I don't know why it looks really yellow on this camera. It looks much yellower on the camera than it does in real life. But safe to say, I don't think that's too bad. I mean, it's edible. And there we are, our gourmet bachelor's condensed mushroom soup is served.
Yeah, it's nice.
Is it alright?
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice and quick and easy, isn't it? Something simple to cobble together in a van.
Just one quick thing on pasta. I don't know if anyone else in a van or a motorhome feels this, but we kind of find it a bit annoying to do, and we don't have it as often as we might have done when we lived in bricks and mortar, because for one simple reason, and it may sound so stupid, and that's draining the pasta water. So quite often I'll try and do it so that I cook the pasta enough so that it cooks with just enough water so there's no water to drain off, which is not always easy to do and often means your pasta doesn't come out that good. So with draining the water, of course we've got a sink, but I don't really like to put pasta water down the sink if I can help it, because if anyone's noticed, like, it can sometimes congeal, doesn't it? It kind of goes into some kind of jelly, yeah, and I really just don't want that getting stuck in the sink. So the other option, it's like, well, it's only pasta water, surely we can just put it outside. And it's like, yeah, we can, you know, if it's appropriate, but often you're in places, like, we know it's fine, it is just pasta water, you're not doing anything particularly harmful, it's not going to do any harm to the ground. But, you know, especially if there's a bit of grass behind where you parked, which there nearly always is, some trees or whatever. But it's like, if somebody sees that, it still doesn't look great, does it? So you kind of wrestle with the idea of, oh, it's probably all right just to do it. But if somebody sees it, they'll interpret it as something else, and it will look like you're kind of not littering, but just being a bit disrespectful. So, yeah, just thought I'd put that out there about pasta and pasta water and why we don't have it so much. Is that weird? I don't know. Is that how we both feel?
Yeah.
I think it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I also feel like I want to eat my dinner.
We want to eat our dinner, so let's just get on. You can press stop now.
No.
The next morning the sun was out, so it only felt right to take one last wander around Wernigerode. When I asked Stephen to come with me, I was met with a shrug, but at least he got the van ready, so I could drag him kicking and screaming to the next location.
Morning.
So we're going to leave Wernigerode today. I had a quick walk into town this morning just to kind of have one last look around, just to mop up some things that we hadn't maybe seen. I think probably we saw some of the same stuff again, but it was just nice to kind of walk around again and get one last look at it. But I think we both recommend this place, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. It's lovely.
Absolutely gorgeous. You know, maybe once we see several German towns, we might not think so much, but I can't. That just looked amazing to us. So highly recommend Wernigerode, including the castle, even though you can't take pictures when you're in there.
Yeah.
But today we're going to move on. The sun's out, so it looks like it's going to be a reasonably good day, at least for some of it. And we're going to go, what are we going to do? We're going into the Harz mountains we're going to go walking, Steve.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. You're just going to love it so much.
Right.
We're going to have so much fun. We're going to be trekking for hours uphill, sweating.
I'm raring to go.
Oh, it'll be wonderful. We'll see you in the Harz mountains.
Bye.
Just before we go hiking, we've just nipped into the Lidl to do a bit of shopping and return some plastic bottles. But another thing that's really good here that I'd like to point out, hang on, I'm doing this all wrong. Another thing that's great
about the supermarkets here as opposed to back home is that when you want a trolley, it takes 3 different types of coins, usually €1, 50 cents or €2, I think. Whereas back home, it's always just £1, isn't it? So much more convenient. So we've arrived in the Harz region, so it's one of Germany's national parks. Now, the weird thing about this is they don't look that high up. The highest is only 1,100 and something metres tall, which is Brocken. We're not going to hike up that today. We're going to go to the second highest point, I can't remember the name of it, and that's about 900 and something metres. So still pretty tall. However, it's far less of a mountain and more like a kind of gradual plateau sort of thing. So when you look around this whole region, it just doesn't feel like we're that high up. When you're in Scotland or Wales and you're on peaks that are kind of like 800-900 metres tall, it feels tall, you know. They often feel like really dramatic, perhaps because they rise up so quickly. So I can only assume the region we're in, we were already high up, perhaps down in Wernigerode, and it was like it just gradually rises, so you don't notice the height. I don't know, because it definitely doesn't feel that high, but maybe we'll change our mind when we get to the top of wherever we're going. But anyway, we're gonna have a nice walk. We've got some lunch, we've got our baguettes to take with us like little good Boy Scouts. There's a lot of dead trees around here, which we will talk about later, so it kind of looks like not as spectacular as it might, but we will go into that later because there's a reason for that, which is quite troubling in some ways. But anyway, let's go and enjoy our hike in the Harz Mountains. Well, after one day of rain, we're back to sunshine. Quite glorious, isn't it? Yay! We've been really lucky with the weather because they've had some bad flooding in Germany all the time we've been here, but just not where we've been. So that works out pretty well so far. Yeah. Anyway, today we're walking around a lake called the Uderteich, I think it's called. So we're going to have a little walk around that, and then it takes us further up to the second highest point here, which I think is called the Bruckberg. I know I'm saying that wrong, but more specifically a viewing point called the Wolfsweit. Oh god, I'm not saying that right. I'm just gonna... Is it Wolfsweit?
That's what you said.
Wolfsweit.
Wolfsweit.
We'll write it there. I think some people might argue it's not the second highest point because the highest mountain here, Mount Brocken, has many kind of peaks around it that are a bit higher, but some people might class it as the same mountain. So separate from that, this is the second highest peak at 900 and something metres. So not too bad, but still pretty high. But there is no indication of height, is there, right now?
No, I try not to think about it.
Yeah, he's just going to ignore it.
All I'm thinking about is my sandwich.
Well, you can wait till we're halfway.
It's a bit cold.
Yeah, he's just here for the lunch.
What else?
Oh, for the glorious lake, for the nature.
Yeah, I haven't got to walk for like 6 miles to see that. I can just sit down on a rock or something.
And the joke is you haven't actually got to walk 6 miles for that because you can actually drive up to where we're going. Oops, sorry, did I just...
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, never mind. So I've just looked it up and the place specifically we're going is called the Wolfsweit viewpoint. I think that's how you say it.
Das?
Was?
Das.
Was is das? Ignorant Brits not pronouncing things properly. That's what das is.
Nein.
So everything now has just started to take a gradual turn upwards, which obviously Stephen's delighted about. So it is deceiving. We knew we were going high, it just didn't look like we were going high. But it started now. However, it is kind of like a gradual incline. It's not too steep so far, so it's definitely doable as it stands. Not sure if Stephen will agree, but he's back there, so we won't worry about that. Everywhere we've seen water on this walk so far, all of it has been this orange colour, so it's kind of like an orangey brown, including the entire lake. And I know you can swim in the lake, so it's not dirty water or anything as far as we know, but we haven't read it, but we think it's probably like iron ore or something like that in the water. Certainly from what we've seen in the UK, when it's this colour, it's usually to do with iron. So yeah, it doesn't look 100% appealing, although it doesn't look too bad on this camera, but I don't think it's anything bad. One of the things you really notice in this region is the fact that there are so many dead trees. Some of them have fallen over, some of them are kind of like half chopped down and possibly felled by humans after they've died, and some of them, many of them, are just standing upright and they just look like husks with no life in whatsoever. And the reason for this is due to a beetle called the bark beetle, which has infested the Harz mountains and killed off so many spruce and pine trees. I'm being bitten by something now, hold on, because that's what happens when you walk in the hills. Probably a bark beetle or something. No, I think they're all right with humans. So yeah, it's absolutely decimated the region. I know where we're walking right now, you can't really see it, but everywhere you look, there are dead trees. And it sort of looks like something dreadful has happened, like a storm has passed through or some kind of awful event has taken place and the ground is like long recovering or something. Sadly, I think this has happened pretty quickly over time. I don't think it's a long-term thing. I think this beetle has done this relatively quickly. So yeah, it's not good. However, where the trees have died, new ones are coming up, and I think it doesn't eat all sorts of trees. So if a different tree was to replace it, not sure, but possibly like deciduous trees, if that was to replace the pines and the spruces, then the trees might thrive again. But you do see new pines coming up, so they're not completely gone or anything, and obviously there are still many standing. It's just something that has really taken its toll on these hills. So as I was saying earlier, the views are not as spectacular as they might be because there's something kind of a bit post-apocalyptic about these hills when you look across, especially when you're high up and you see that half of it just seems to, the life seems to have been sucked out entirely. So yeah, it's not brilliant, but still a beautiful national park, and it's very peaceful up here and we're enjoying the wonderful weather so far. And not too many complaints about the hills yet, Stephen.
Give me time.
Give you time. I mean, we've got lunch to go, so that's keeping him going. We're going to wait till we get to the top, because walking up a hill after you've eaten a baguette is just the worst, right?
Come on, I'm starving.
No, me too.
Wolfswater.
The Wolfswater. That was the Wolfswater in the Harz Mountains in National Park. And we will call it a day here and head back to our little humble abode.
Aye.
And figure out where we're going to lay our heads again tonight.
Well, I'm thinking you've got a video to make, so we might, as it's early, find somewhere where we just haven't got to move for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So we can get on with the video rather than get up and find somewhere and lose half the morning.
Yeah, I think that was always the plan. We're going to settle down so I can put one of these things together, and we can get a shower maybe somewhere as well. I don't know. Anyway, we will decide that when we get off of this mountainside.
She's pretty grim to walk down.
It is grim to walk down. Walking back is never fun, is it? It's like, oh, we're done now. Let's just go back. So we left our little walk and we just came out of the national park, although I think we've just driven into it again. We really were just trying to find somewhere very quickly to stay. What the hell have we just found, Stephen? This is amazing.
This is a little cafe, there's a pool over there. You can use the Wi-Fi. The beers are about €3.
It's a free air, isn't it?
Yeah, over there it is.
With electric.
But, yeah, you've got to pay for the electric.
Yeah, but only for a few coins. So you've got electric, you put your coins in, which is pretty good value. There's a toilet on the air. It's just a few little spaces. There's a beautiful river running through it, and right next to it is this little cafe with a swimming pool, and we've got 2 beers. How amazing! Well, things have certainly changed since we last saw you. We're parked up in our little free air in this absolutely gorgeous place. We spent the night here. I went for a run in the mountains on a strangely flat path, which was like a cycle path. There was a river below. But anyway, now it is like this. And they've had some really bad floods in Germany since we've been here. We've been lucky so far not to be around them, so I'm hoping this just passes through. We do have a drain next to us. That could be good or bad.
Aye.
Well, the rain and thunder eventually stopped, so it wasn't too bad. It was really torrential for a while, but passed through. We've come out of it unscathed, so all good. I'm popping one of these video things together, and Stephen is on dinner making duties.
Yeah.
What we got, Steve?
Sweet potato curry.
Sweet potato curry.
Couscous.
Couscous. So sweet potato curry with couscous. Can't beat that. We love a bit of sweet potato. Well, I do more than Stephen, but he'll tolerate it. Anyway, very nice. Thank you, Stephen. Video's nearly done. It's dry. Good end to the day.
Aye.
Aye. Morning.
Morning.
So I've woken up in our little free air in a place called Zebra. It's kind of in the hills of the Harz National Park. It's been beautiful here, isn't it?
It is really nice here.
Unbelievable, and this place is free, so thank you, Germany. We are very grateful to that. We didn't show you much. I was just here doing a video mostly, but if you want to come here, just even spend a couple of days here, it's well worth it because there's so many trails up into the mountains. I managed to go for a run in them, which was really nice. You've got the river to follow, which is beautiful, just right next to us. There's toilets here, which is really great. I think they're open all night. Not much, like there's no phone signal, not really, but there is some free Wi-Fi that you can use, and there's not really much by way of services. But as a little stopover and to see some of the things around you, then well worth it.
Very friendly, very welcoming.
Yeah,
as well.
extremely
Definitely.
welcoming community here. There's nothing here, there's no shops either, so you kind of have to get your bits and come up. But oh my god, it's so lovely. And that place we went to when you saw us very briefly, when the sun was out, and there's a swimming pool and the little bar and the shop, and they do some food. Like, oh, you could spend a good couple of days here on a hot summer day, couldn't you? It will be pretty lovely.
And there were a few people that were speaking English.
Yeah.
And they made an effort to come over and talk to us.
They did, yeah, they did.
Really nice. So that is it. That is where we're going to leave you this week. Please push your subscribe button,
press.
your like, your notification, and we will see you on the next one.
Yep, thank you for watching. I don't know where we're going next. We are heading somewhere kind of like southeast, eastish of Germany. That's all we know at this stage.
Aye.
So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.